the best HLTV fantasy player we've had ever. It's Lucy.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's a new fantasy season, new hair color, same old good fantasy advice, and 3 times champion. Did again. Yay. Let's keep the ball rolling with our new season. Starts with Cologne, which as per usual is broken up into multiple stages. Starting with the opening stage, we have a lot of teams that are very consistent, very evenly matched, obviously, thanks to VRS, which means I think there's a lot of upset potential here. And I also think you don't necessarily need to lock in with the favorites. So, your Phases, your Astralises, even Tyloo. I think a lot of these teams aren't necessarily invulnerable. And it might be good to more approach this from a player-based perspective rather than drafting for teams. So, because 4 teams go through in the upper section and then 4 in the lower. So, plenty of potential to get better players from worse teams. Maybe avoid your Carrigans, look for your carries in other teams. And I think a 2-1-1-1 draft is pretty good, but potentially you could even go 5 different teams. There's a lot of room to maneuver in this. So I think it's more about the players. So let's take a look at those players, take a look at those prices, and get drafting. Right, guys, there's a lot of teams. So I'm going to give you the spark notes of each one. Phase, too expensive. I think if they were all 10k cheaper each, I'd be interested. But the only players I like are Elite and Frozen here, and they're too expensive. Rain and Brokey, if they were cheaper, yes, but I don't think that they justify their price tag when there's teams at a better value. Same for Furia. I do think there's maybe a case for Case Dorado perhaps, but with Astralis as their second game if they beat FlyQuest, I don't think he's worth it either. Maybe Fallen. I definitely think that 187, there's viability in Fallen, but again, there's better value further down the list. Pain, I do think Snow is a really good choice for 184. He was really good at Fisher. And for a bronze, I think it gives you good output. I think Pain beat Liquid, and they have a chance to beat FaZe as well, so I don't hate drafting him. Bigazera is okay. Davideus, but anything else is a push. Astralis, obviously second at Fisher. They come in having already played a LAN, so they're already probably feeling a little warmed up. But I do think some of their pricing's a bit over the place. For instance, Down, too expensive when Device is 219. Even though Down's a group stage merchant, I prefer Device. Yabby and Stare though, pretty decent value. And Hooksy, I can see why people are drafting him, but I prefer Snow, even though they're similar pricing and Astralis should go through a bit more comfortably. I prefer the potential output of Snow. VP, we don't draft. Gamer Legion, I think, are a X-Factor team, and PR is an X-Factor player, so I really like looking at him as a player to draft. I also think Rez, just for consistency, is quite good. And Gamer Legion have a decent shot of getting through, especially because they have Complexity as their first game. Even though they didn't have the best Fisher, I think that Gamer Legion are a sleeper team here. 3D Max, I think that if you're looking at players here, I'd personally push you more towards Gamer Legion. But if you must, Maka is the guy to go. Liquid absolutely bombed out in that qualifier for EPL. Oh my god, what a disaster. I don't know what's going wrong with this team. There should be so much more potential with Nerds Twists. Okay, with Nerds and Twists. It just doesn't work. I don't know, don't draft them. Heroic, I really think this team has a very high ceiling, but it's going to take time to really see it in action, especially with all the changes of roles and stuff with Nilo. 189 though, Nilo could be an okay player to pick into, but I think with NIP as their first game and with a lackluster showing at Fisher, I'm not too interested just yet. MIBR, new player, a lot of question marks. Not quite interested in drafting them just yet, although with 3D Max as an opener, Insani for 198, he's actually kind of sleeper at that price tag, right? Insani, an incredible player, but a very risky draft. Fate, if they didn't have Astralis as their first game and then Furia as the potential follow-through if they won, I'd be interested in, but with a tough group and with kind of expensive pricing, considering they haven't played a game this season, I don't think they're draftable. Maybe Head Trick, but pricing just feels a little too high. Tyloo with the Golden Boys. These guys are pure value across the board. Only player I'd maybe avoid is Attacker, just because, he's just not particularly great, to be honest. And especially when you can get G Mosaic for not that much more, 8, 10k more. It just makes sense to look at these 4. Jam Young, brilliant at Fisher, and I think going double Tyloo, definitely worth doing. And you should be getting a Ty Lue player. Like, no matter what, you should have a Ty Lue player in your draft. Complexity, I personally would avoid. They have Game Allegiance in their first game, which I think they lose. They looked really rough in Austin. I just don't have a lot of faith in this team. And with a very competitive group here, or competitive event here, I don't rate their chances. Same with Big, despite it being a home event, they couldn't even win IESF, guys. I just don't have the confidence in Big. NIP I do. NIP I really rate here, and I think are going to be a very similar team to Gamer Legion, where they're slept on hard, especially with this new move they've made. Kaspersky has been insane for ends all year. I actually didn't really rate him when he was in the academy circuit. I thought he was very inconsistent, but whether that's because of Glaive's touch or what, he has developed into a really good player. And I think that the pure firepower he's going to add to NIP is going to elevate them, because we're already talking about a team that's got a very solid IGL, one of the best anchors that we've ever had in recent history. And then Wrinkle, who's this brilliant explosive AWP. Like, everything about this team is very exciting. And I think that picking any player here except Wrinkle, just because he's a little too expensive, I think is actually a really cheeky thing to do. I think NIP, going to be slept on, worth drafting, similar to Gamer Legion. I love FlyQuest. I really want to draft FlyQuest, especially now they got JKS, which I think is going to elevate this team. You know, we're talking Netic, Backside, JKS, Regali. Everything about this is exciting. But they've got a really tough group, guys. Furia into Astralis. I don't want to touch it. And then I think even the lowers, it doesn't get any easier. So sadly, I have to pass on FlyQuest, but I wouldn't hate you if you drafted them. So with all that said, for my team, I'm going to be doubling up on Ty Lue. I'm going to go Jam Youngji. I just think this combo is undefeatable. Like, especially after Fisher, you kind of have to go in on Ty Lue, and these two just feel like the best value. And speaking of value, I want to grab Snow. I know that Pain have a tough group, but I think Snow's output at Fisher gives me faith, and the amount of money it leaves over means I can get two really solid players for my final two. And for those players, I'm going to take one risk. I'm going to grab Kaspersky, and then I'm going to grab Device as my final player, just for a bit more consistency. But I really want to take the risk on NIP. I've got a lot of faith in this team. I'm really excited to see what they deliver. And I think with the other players I've got, it allows for some risks. So that's the Cologne Colossus, my first team of this season. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're drafting, and let me know how you did last season. It's our first video, so we can set our goals for the season ahead. You know my goals. As always, guys, I want to aim for the number 1. So let's see what we can do. Let me know your drafts. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, good luck.